The show dedicated to bringing you the news from the oil patch deep in the heart of Texas, with your host, Ryan Ray and Josh Shelton.
We're back with the Texas Oil and Gas Podcast. We appreciate you tuning in to today's episode. This is episode 214. 214. I'm your host, Josh Shelton, my friend and co-host, Ryan Ray. Ryan, we have quite a bit to jump into this week, man. We got the Delta variant causing some problems for us.
Yeah, it is. It is. We'll see what happens with it, but it's catching steam, it feels like.
Yeah, man. I've seen a lot of stuff out in the news with it, man. There's a few things that kind of unrelated that I wanted to jump into. So did any new reviews or anything this week? Any 5 stars?
No. What's up, people? Drop a 5-star review. Holler at your boys. Help us out here.
All right. Well, so Ryan, just before we jump into some of the news here with the Saudis and stuff, did you see where New York was talking about imposing the vaccine passports, right, to go in to eat at restaurants, to go to the gym? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Was it satire, or was it is it legit? Like, it was de Blasio that said it, right?
Yeah, you have, New York's they're lovely. You have the governor who's responsible for killing people and sexually harassing a slew of women on one hand, and then you have de Blasio who's trying to implement vaccines passports. Oh, by the way, criticizing the governor for being a despicable human. It's a freak show up there right now. It is just craziness.
Yeah. So I mean, there's some concerns I have about what this is going to do to the economy, just from a New York standpoint. Man, I saw it. I was like, there's no way this is going to go through. There's no way. But yeah, it's the year after 2020, so maybe it works.
I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of constitutional challenges come to the Supreme Court. So Amy Coney Barrett and your boy Kavanaugh. I bet you they're excited. They're on the court now.
Yeah.
They get to handle all these fun cases coming their way, and will be despised by half the country, no matter how they rule. So, good luck to them as they move forward. Because, there's gonna be a lot of challenges. I think I saw this morning. United Airlines announced that they're going to require vaccines for all of their employees, or you get Das Boot. Yeah. So it's So this is United Airlines becomes first carrier to mandate vaccine for U.S. based employees. Why not international employees? I don't know, but okay. Company acknowledged that some employees may disagree with the decision, but said everyone is safer when everyone is vaccinated. So here you have, I think, so you will see a lawsuit coming from this, right? Mm-hmm. And how fast the Supreme Court hears it or not, I think is going to be part of what you're talking about. And the same with the stuff in New York or any city or state or the federal government that mandates mask, vaccines, etc., is going to be challenged on and where it lands is going to determine some of the stuff. And if the courts side with the mask or the vaccine side, then it just kind of is what it is. You had to either comply or figure out some workaround, which is kind of hard if you can't keep your job if you don't get vaccinated. Which, real quick, and I haven't seen this, and maybe the United folks, if you've had COVID, then I don't know if this should apply or not. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's one of the questions. So, like, one of the scenarios is like, okay, you're in New York, you have a heart condition, you got COVID a month ago. Should you have to get vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
You just had it. I mean, it's a small risk. I agree. I acknowledge it's a small risk to have any heart issues, but it should you take that risk if you just had COVID and you have natural immunity? That's probably better than the vaccine. That's it. So here's the thing I'm looking at, Ryan. So the angle I'm thinking of it is like if you're a tourist and you're going to go, say, visit New York and you're not vaccinated, like how the percentage of people that's not vaccinated, those people aren't going to visit. So however much tourism that amounts to, who knows? But that sort of thing is going to start to have an impact on just from the economic status of New York City itself. But I'm wondering, as they roll those out, will it stop this interstate commerce, which, I don't think Florida and Texas are going to allow it for sure. Possibly California. What are some other ones? I mean, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, New Mexico.
You're going to have challenges, I would suspect, on the other side, right? So you have some people who are going to challenge and say that the government can't make you do this. And some people are going to challenge and say the government can't prevent you from doing this, right? So people are going to challenge Abbott's or DeSantis' authority and push back on that direction. So, we have a long road to hoe. But to your point, which is, if I'm going to go to New York City and they roll this out, well, I've got to go research. What does it mean? Do I have to have a vaccine, like shot one, both shots? Do I have to have my card on me? Do I log into a system? Like those are questions that they don't hamper demand fully, but they do impact it in certain ways, which is if you don't have to go do it, then it's a matter of convenience. Then it's just how bad do you want to do it? So, I think this is going to keep demand. But, listen, I think Austin announced that they're like level 5 or something over the weekend. So, you have this kind of the vaccine passport stuff, but you also just have, will we see more restrictive policies roll back out as the Delta variant kind of spreads to the country?
Yeah, so today, I mean, I'm looking at the oil price right now at 66. I mean, what was it last week? 75. So was it dropped $9 since our show last week? $10? I'm not sure about that. I'm basing it off memory, but man, I mean that's a hit. I saw that jet fuel was
71 last week. So
71.
Mm.
That's not too bad. $5. We just hope it don't continue.
A month ago it was 75.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in other news, Ryan, Saudi Aramco reports the highest quarterly profit since 2018. So the oil price has put the Saudis back in the position that they want to be in, which is good news for them. It looks like they're not going to be, ramping up their drilling in a way that would destabilize the market. They're not fighting with the Russians at this point. We could be, I mean, even with the Delta variant, if the prices don't drop too much, if they can kind of restabilize and start to come back up, we might be in a pretty stable market for a little while.
It's really weird, right? Because you would think if I had just told you, let's just take 2020 out and said we go from 2019 to 2021, and we have kind of these weird things with, pandemics kind of going on. You have different levels of access and transportation, and demands kind of gone from international flights and stuff. You would think that the world producers would have a hard time keeping the price in a range, and they've done that. And so, the Saudis are obviously benefiting from that. The U.S. producers, by and large, are going to benefit from that on some level. They've done a fantastic job of keeping the price, and that's what's so crazy about last year, which was the price tanked. It was hard to recover, and so they've done a good job of balancing the market, and kudos to them because you can't deny the results.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Who would have thought they would have been able to manage that? That's been something that, in typical transitions when markets begin to shift, we have not done a good job.
I wonder how much the ESG is actually helping the price. Right now, because so you have the ESG and you have kind of the shale's bad history of not managing its money. But I wonder how much just the ESG pressure is actually helping prevent the U.S. side from going out there and drilling it down too much.
Well, that's a good point too. I think ESG, and not to mention, inflation, all those things are playing some part in keeping these prices up. So one thing for demand, there's an article here from Hard Energy. China's crude oil imports rebound as state refiners return from overhauls. So they were in a 6-month low because they had refiners that they were in the process of overhauling. So now those numbers are starting to jump back up. So China is going to be importing a lot more. So that's going to help certainly with the demand side. Hoping to see that continue as far as their economy getting back to a strong position, and the opportunities that brought with it would be great for the industry.
Yeah, and I wonder, on the China stuff, they bought a lot of oil last year and it was cheap, and so I wonder how much of that is based upon the refiners, but also based upon the price that if the prices are a little soft right now at 65 or whatever they were, we said, 65, 66. That maybe they're looking at this as an opportunity to buy. It's not 75, right? So prices are back down. Maybe the refineries are coming back online, but also $10 off a barrel, and you're buying the volume that China buys. It might be a good time for them to invest.
Here's a curveball for you, Ryan. I just thought of this, so apologies. So with China, they have a very strong. I don't want to say the wrong word. They have a lot of people that use a lot of energy over there because their population is so large. The one-child policy that they instituted however long ago looks like it's going to be bringing a sociological difficulty. Let's state it like that. It's going to be a difficult situation coming up because of that one-child policy. And they've since reversed that. And I think they're encouraging people to have children now because they see that they have a upcoming, I don't know if I'd say catastrophe, but borderline. It could be potentially tough. Do you think their demand for energy is going to decrease because of that policy? Or do you think the population is so large and they're largely undeveloped in a lot of areas that it still should be a place where you should see continued growth, like a lot of growth?
Yeah. So, I think if you look at the per capita demand of China, it's pretty low. And so even to your point about the demographic problem that they have, population problem that they have, their per capita energy usage or oil usage particularly is pretty low. And so as their country becomes wealthier, if you have the case, then you would presume that per capita usage would go up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so even if their population, you took the worst estimate about their population, you'd still presume that their GDP would go up on some level, and their consumption level would go up, so that their usage would go up. And that's what people we talk about oil usage globally. Look how much the average U.S. citizen uses of oil, and you compare it with like China or India or Nigeria or wherever. We are light years ahead of them. And so, as those nations become wealthier, it's hard to imagine how that doesn't stay true for them.
Yeah. So just for it's just throwing it out there. So as an American per capita, what do we use 10 times more, or is it even more drastic than that?
Let's see here. I can pull it up. Oil usage per capita. So I think it's so this isn't the number I'm looking for, but this will help it out here. So yearly gallons per capita. The U.S. uses 934. China uses 138. Daily oil consumption in barrels. The U.S. uses 19 million. China uses 12 million. Right, and they've got 1.3 billion people. We've got
5 times the amount of people. So
right, and so then the next, so you go, if you just look at daily oil consumption in barrels, we're at 19.6. China's at 12.7, and then number three is 4.4. 4.4.
Who's it? Japan?
No, it's India. Japan's number 4 at 4 million.
Okay.
Russia at 3 million. And so a fun exercise is to take this whole usage and then take the population and put them side by side, and what you'll see is that there's a lot of oil demand that's coming on the market.
So we're using about 50% more than China, and we're about 5 times smaller.
We use 20% of the global share of oil is to the U.S. 20% of the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to need a lot of oil, bro.
A lot of oil.
We need a lot of oil. You start looking at some of those numbers, and the industry is safe. We just got to get the idiots to stop trying to push it down because, these places need it, man. Really. Well, Ryan, we have an interesting article here. I saw this from the Railroad Commission. Wright wrote, he reduced emissions and fixed the grid by incentivizing better natural gas infrastructure. So he talks about ERCOT. He talks about how the grid had a hard time this summer. There was something you sent me, Ryan, back, I think we were on vacation. I think I was destroying you out on the boat on the fishing trip. But you sent something saying that there was a potential for more blackouts, right? Rolling blackouts in Texas. And it didn't come to pass, I don't believe, but it was the infrastructure was strained, the grid was strained. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, back in June, they wanted us to turn the thermostat up like 80 or 78 or whatever it was. I can't remember. It was pretty warm. So the timing of this is interesting. So Commissioner Jim Wright, is wanting to do some kind of federal or state tax subsidy to help increase this. But natural gas is at $4 right now. It's it's the highest it's been. Let's see here. If I can pull the chart up real quick. So natural gas, the last time it was this high would have been back in 2018, and that was just for a short kind of blip there. So it's the highest it's been in a long time, which means that the market should solve some of this. And you're also able to see high natural gas because we don't have the volume of drilling in the Permian that we've had before. Yeah. So you have just less gas coming to the market. But if you think that tax subsidies is a way to incentivize pipeline growth, obviously we're all for it. It helps. You get more benefit out of doing this potentially in putting this in storage than you would by flaring it. So if people are saying, "Hey, flaring's bad," well, we've got to do something with it. Then why not a tax subsidy? Obviously, I'm a low tax guy, so anyway, we can get rid of taxes. You kind of got my attention.
All right, Ryan. Well, I think David Blackman talked a little bit about coal. And some of the possibilities for incentivizing coal developments. This more so looking at natural gas infrastructure and having incentivizing these folks to go out and build some plants, because this would be one of the more reliable sources of energy. There's another article that came out, Ryan. We mentioned ESG. I'm not going to jump into it too much. I mean, it seems it's mainly like an overview. It's more so just from a perspective. So the title of the article is "Fugitive Methane Worsens Warming. New assessments point to urgent oil and gas fix." And it's talking about methane and how you get some of the same narrative, just 20 to 80 times worse than carbon dioxide. And there is an urgent push to go in and assess the causes of these methane leaks or these methane emissions and try to fix them. And I'm all for trying to address the issues as far as reducing the amount of methane emissions. But there's always the question of what is the angle that's being pushed here. Why now? What? Because this is something that they've been talking about for a very long time. And what's mentioned, I think, key to this is that the UN recently published a worldwide methane emissions report, and that report is actually linked to in this article. And I would think we're probably going to see. They released it back in May. I think we're going to hear a good bit of conversation around that report and people discussing it. There's some stuff I saw. Greta Thunberg, whatever how you say her name. Yeah. So
yeah, Greta.
If you saw some of that, they came out. One of the guys said, "Look, we really need to address this." And then a little while later, he approved more drilling in the UK right after addressing the article. And some of the people that are very, very, I would say, sincere climate activists, they see the hypocrisy in some of that. They're not like John Kerry. They're not those sort of folks. Greta, I think she really believes what she's saying. And she sees the hypocrisy in some of these politicians that use ESG just as a platform to push their agenda. But behind the scenes, they know that they really have to support this oil function. So
I'll just be clear, John Kerry did not fly to Obama's party. He flew to his house in the area and then took the ferry to the party. Like, you can't make this up. I read that. They're like, Kerry did not fly to his party. He took the ferry. It's like, well, wait, he took the ferry from DC? That doesn't make any sense. So no, he flew to his, to the town, went to his residence, and then took the ferry from there to there. So he took the ferry. Oh, it's like full.
Wow. He did fly then.
He just didn't. Yeah.
He just didn't land on the strip. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Obama, what happened to my invite? I wanted to come. Whatever. I'd have flown up there like John Kerry. I'd have flown commercial though. That's the kind of guy I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder. I wonder how much flack they're going to get for that because I mean, on one hand, you got the Delta variant that, especially on the left, they're really pushing it pretty hard.
Well, hold on. You mentioned John Kerry this morning. He sent out a tweet. This is serious. Get serious now. John Kerry. Today's report from the IPCC_CH, that's the people we're talking about, shows that we cannot afford further delay. The science has been certain for decades, but the latest report makes it abundantly clear the climate crisis is not only here, it's growing increasingly severe. This is from the man who flew to a birthday party over the weekend. Sorry, take a ferry. Do it. The extreme events will only become more drastic in the future. This is why we cannot wait. Now is the time to call for action. I mean, we live in the twilight. We live in the twilight zone. Like, really, this is crazy. And to your point, this is what makes with the recent comments I've seen about Greta, which are, I don't know, a few months back, was some of this stuff is what makes her mad. This right here, the flying all over the world doing stuff and then acting like you're mad.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, what hope do we have if these people are in charge? I just I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough seeing all this stuff. I mean, the issue is a lot of these people are benefiting, making a lot of money doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that we don't look for cleaner energy. I'm for that. I think people need to at least have a critical eye with the actions some of these folks are taking because they're clearly hypocrites completely. So we have another article here, Ryan. This one is from our pal Sergio Chapa. He wrote an article. Texas oil regulator proposes tax credits for natural gas infrastructure, and just wanted to mention this one because you get a little bit of commentary from Sergio, just kind of giving you some further breakdown of that.
How about our boys at Pioneer, though?
Yeah, man. So last week, I mean, here's the thing. Pioneer last week had how much? What was the losses? I know that it was in notes. So there's some relativity to the article that I mentioned last week. But they had reported big losses. But this week we see an article that they are the most active operator in the Permian. The most active, like not Chevron, not Exxon, not EOG, Pioneer. They are the most active.
Did it come out? Let's see here. Did it come out that they actually had the losses, or was that just because remember? I think when we recorded,
yeah, coming out that next day, I believe the actual reports, and I didn't actually follow up.
But while you're looking that up, I mean, one of the things I found interesting was Sheffield said that he expects that the shale growth is not going to be that much in the coming years, and that oil and gas companies continue to focus on capital discipline and shareholder returns. He says that anticipates output in the Permian Basin to grow roughly 5% over the coming years, while other basins will be flat and face declines. And he also went on to say that they are not looking for any large acquisitions in the Midland Basin. And so, anyways, so going back to our previous comments about the price, where it's at, we're just going if Sheffield's right here, that you're only see a 5% growth in the coming years. And I don't know what that means for the sector as a whole, because you have to presume that that OPEC will keep the prices down, or demand will keep the prices down. But it's interesting that he doesn't see a lot of growth happening in the future.
Yeah, so he mentions here basically in slide number 7. So this is a transcript, as you can see, of slide 7. The product of Pioneer's high-quality assets, top-tier capital efficiency drives significant free cash flow generation, accounting in greater than $23 billion through 2026. Doesn't really address
Here it
last.
is. So they expected to be $832 million loss on its hedges, and then it says that loss turned out to be less. Pioneer reported a $380 million reported $380 million or $1.54 per share of net income. After adjusting for losses on its hedging contracts, it would have earned $629 million or $2.25 a share.
Okay.
So
they're doing well.
They didn't do as bad as they thought they were going to do.
Yep, they're able to turn it around a little bit. That's good.
Yeah, set the bar low. That's right. Just set the bar low. This come out every quarter. We're expecting to take a bath. It's going to be bad this quarter. We don't know how we're going to make it. Our doors might close, and then just overperform every time.
That's the way to do it.
That's what I would do.
I think that's. Did you learn that from like politics or politicians or?
Well, they do the opposite, right? They tell you they're going to do a bunch of stuff, and they never.
Yeah.
So just do the opposite of what they're doing.
All right, we have one last article. Actually, we don't run. I actually hit all of them, so that I think covers everything we have for the week.
And we do have one other thing. I will be playing a clip from Inside the War Room with the folks from Sky High for Kids. They do cancer. They help fund cancer research for childhood cancer, and so I will tack that on at the end of this podcast. So be sure to check that out. They give the oil and gas industry a big shout out. So I wanted to play that on here for all the folks out there who make stuff like that happen. I did not know this, Josh. When they started, I think they said 40 or 60 years ago, not Sky High for Kids, but the person who I guess founded them. No. I'm trying to think of how they. Anyways, 60 years ago, we'll say, whoever the person was, I can't remember. Leukemia had a 4% survival rate for kids. It's at 94% now. It's either within 40 or 60 years. And the problem is that childhood cancer, it's kind of a weird deal, right? So it impacts not enough kids to get the amount of government research and funding that you would need to solve the problems. So it's kind of a good thing. It doesn't impact a lot of kids. However, because it doesn't impact them, there's not a lot of research and money's devoted to it, right? So it's kind of one of those weird deals. And so their organization helps raise money for ending childhood cancer. And so leukemia now has a 94% survival rate. And the number one killer of kids is childhood cancer. I did not know that. Anyways, so I will play a portion of that. You can go listen to the full interview on Inside the War Room. But she talks about all the money that they get from oil and gas people. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, it was great. It was great to talk to Brittany. So with that being said, we'll be back next week. Until then,